The council chamber on Station Zenith 7 was the biggest meeting place in the galaxy. Thousands of beings from different worlds sat in curved rows that rose up toward the glass ceiling. Above them, stars glowed in the darkness of space. Ambassador Kael'thar stood at the center platform, his insect-like body shaking slightly as he prepared to speak. Kael'thar belonged to the Vrex species. His people looked like large insects with 6 legs and compound eyes that could see in many directions at once. Today those eyes were fixed on the council members who would decide if his research meant anything or nothing. High Curator Mirasol watched him from her seat. She was a seraphim, a bird-like creature with beautiful feathers that changed colors when light touched them. Her job was to keep the old records safe, to remember history so others would not forget. She had seen many young researchers like Kael'thar come before the council with wild ideas. Commander Thros sat beside her, his reptilian face showing no emotion. The Krevnak were warriors strong and proud. Thros had fought in many battles, and he believed only in things he could see and touch. Stories and myths meant nothing to him. Kael'thar cleared his throat, which sounded like clicking and buzzing. The chamber grew quiet. "Honored council members," he began, "I have spent 10 years studying the old ruins on dead worlds at the edge of our space. What I found will change everything we know about our galaxy's history." He activated a hologram in the center of the room. Images appeared in the air, showing broken buildings on lifeless planets, strange symbols carved into metal walls and pieces of technology that nobody could identify. "These ruins are not from any species we know," Kael'thar said. "The technology is different. The language is different. And all of these sites are exactly 300 years old. They all died at the same time." A council member from the aquatic delphine species raised a fin. "What does this have to do with us, Ambassador? Dead civilizations are found all the time." Kael'thar's mandibles clicked together nervously. "Because I believe these ruins belong to humans." The chamber exploded with noise. Laughter, angry shouts, and confused buzzing filled the air. Commander Thros stood up, his scales rippling with amusement. "Humans? You bring us fairy tales?" Thros's voice boomed through the chamber. "Humans are stories we tell children to make them behave. They are not real." Other council members nodded in agreement. Everyone knew the human stories. They were creatures who could live almost anywhere, who never gave up no matter how many times they lost, who felt emotions so strongly that it made them dangerous. The myth said humans could make friends with any species, even their enemies. The story said they fought with clever tricks and refused to follow the normal rules of war. But they were just stories. Nobody real could be like that. Kael'thar refused to back down. "I have evidence. Look at the symbols I found. They match descriptions from the old myths. The technology shows signs of incredible adaptability. These beings built homes on ice worlds and desert planets. They created machines that could think and feel. Everything matches." High Curator Mirasol stood, and the chamber fell silent. When she spoke, everyone listened. "I have studied the archives for many years," she said, her voice soft but clear. "The human myths are very old, older than most of our civilizations. They appear in the stories of many different species, even ones that never met each other." She walked to the hologram and touched it. New images appeared, showing ancient text from a dozen different languages. "This is what the myths tell us," she continued. "They warn us about blue and white ships that move faster than anything else. They tell us that humans offer mercy to enemies. But if that mercy is refused, the humans show no mercy at all. They say humans feel pain when their companions die, even if those companions are from different species. They say humans pack bond, forming connections that make them fight harder and never abandon their friends." She turned to face the council. "But most importantly, all the old warnings say the same thing. If you see evidence of humans, leave them alone. Do not wake them. Do not anger them." Commander Thros laughed again. "Fairy tales and children's warnings." "High Curator, with respect, you sound like an old grandmother scaring little ones before bed. I have commanded fleets for 40 years. I have fought in every corner of this galaxy. If humans were real, we would have found them by now." Other military commanders nodded. 300 years of silence meant only one thing. If humans had ever existed, they were gone now. Dead. Extinct. Just empty ruins and forgotten myths. Kael'thar felt his hopes falling apart. He had been so sure, so certain that he had found proof. But looking at the faces around him, he saw only doubt and mockery. The council leader, an elderly being made of floating crystals, spoke with a voice like wind chimes. "Ambassador Kael'thar, your research is interesting, but it proves nothing. These ruins could belong to any lost civilization. The Council cannot make decisions based on myths. Your request for a full investigation is denied. Kael'thar bowed his head. He had lost. As he turned to leave the platform, trying to hide his shame, a young assistant ran into the chamber. The assistant's species had multiple arms, and all of them were waving frantically. "Council, emergency!" the assistant shouted. "We just received a distress signal from mining colony Xerxes 9 at the Outer Rim." Commander Thras stood immediately. "What happened? Are they under attack?" "No, sir," the assistant replied, trying to catch his breath. "The colony just went silent. No response to any communications. But before they went dark, their sensors detected something strange." "What kind of strange?" asked the council leader. The assistant pulled up data on the main hologram. Energy readings appeared, showing patterns that made no sense. They did not match any known technology in the galaxy. Kael'thar stared at the readings. His compound eyes went wide. He had seen energy signatures like this before in his research on the old ruins. High Curator Mirasol moved closer to the hologram. Her feathers shifted to a dark blue, which for her species meant fear. "Those patterns," she whispered. "They match the descriptions in the old archives. The warnings from before." Commander Thras waved his hand dismissively. "Probably just a power malfunction or equipment failure. I will take a fleet and investigate. We will find some simple explanation for all of this." But as Thras organized his ships and prepared to leave, Kael'thar felt something cold in his chest. He looked at the energy readings again, comparing them to his research data. They matched perfectly. Mirasol stood beside him. "You were right, young scholar," she said quietly so only he could hear. "I think you were right about everything. And I fear we are about to learn why the old ones told us to leave the humans alone." Kael'thar watched through the glass ceiling as Commander Thras's fleet launched into space, their engines glowing bright as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. The colony was 3 days away. 3 days until they would know the truth. 3 days until everything changed. Commander Thras's warship, the Talon of Dominion, dropped out of faster-than-light travel above mining colony Xerxes 9. The commander stood on his bridge, looking at the planet below. Everything seemed normal. The buildings were still standing. The lights were on. But there was no movement, no communications, no signs of life. "Scan the surface," Thras ordered. "Find out where everyone went." Captain Vorsal, a younger Krevnak officer, studied the readings. "Sir, this is strange. There are no bodies, no signs of fighting. The colony systems are all working perfectly. It is like everyone just walked away and never came back." Thras felt uneasy, though he would never admit it. "Send down a team. I want answers." The landing party included Dr. Yenna, a Delphine scientist who studied strange life forms. Her species lived in water, so she wore a special suit filled with liquid that let her breathe while walking on land. She moved slowly through the empty colony streets, her large eyes taking in every detail. "The miners were eating breakfast when something happened," she reported, examining a dining hall. "Look, their food is still on the tables. Some of it is still warm. Whatever made them leave happened very suddenly." One of the soldiers found personal data pads left behind. Dr. Yenna read through the last entries. Her face changed color, turning pale. "Commander," she said into her communication device, "you need to see this. The miners found something underground. They thought it was a natural cave system, but it was not natural. It was built. And they broke through a sealed door. Thras came down to the planet himself. He hated mysteries, and this colony was full of them. Dr. Yenna led him to the mining shaft where it all started. They went down deep into the rock, following lights that the miners had placed along the walls. At the bottom, they found the door. It was made of metal that nobody recognized, covered in symbols that looked both beautiful and strange. The door had been forced open, and beyond it was a massive underground facility carved into the rock. "What is this place?" Captain Vorsal whispered. They walked through corridors that had not seen light in hundreds of years. The walls were clean, the technology still humming with power. Everything was designed for beings who walked on 2 legs and stood about average height for most species. Dr. Yenna stopped at a wall covered in text. "I can read some of this. It is a warning. It says this is an emergency shelter. It says the people here were going to sleep and wake up later when it was safe." They found the main chamber. It was enormous, filled with rows and rows of large white pods. Most of them were open and empty. Dust covered everything. But in the center of the room, one pod still glowed with soft blue light. Thros approached it carefully. Inside the pod, he could see a figure. 2 arms, 2 legs, smooth skin without scales or feathers or fur. The face looked peaceful, like someone sleeping deeply. "Is that a human?" one of the soldiers asked, his voice shaking. Dr. Yenna studied the pod's control panel. "The life signs are stable. This being has been in cryogenic sleep for a very long time. According to this display, for 300 years, symbols glowed on the pod's surface." Dr. Yenna read them out loud. "UNS Haven, Emergency Contingency Site Gamma." She paused. "UNS, that stands for United Nations Space Corps. That was in the old myths. The human military." Commander Thros felt cold despite his thick scales. Humans were supposed to be myths, stories, not real beings sleeping in underground facilities. "Where did the miners go?" Captain Vorsal asked. "If they found this place, what happened to them?" Dr. Yenna checked the facility's logs. The other pods opened decades ago, from the inside. "The people sleeping here woke up and left. The miners must have followed them or gone looking for them." "Then why is this one still here?" Thros asked. "I do not know, Commander. But according to these systems, this person has a very important rank. A captain, military command level." One of Thros's soldiers, nervous and curious, reached out and touched the pod's control panel. Lights flashed. An alarm sounded. The pod began to hiss and click as ancient machinery came to life. "What did you do?" Thros roared at the soldier. "I did not mean to. I just touched it." The pod was opening. They could not stop it. Frost poured out as warm air met frozen surfaces. The figure inside began to move. Everyone raised their weapons, not sure what to expect. The human woman sat up slowly. She looked around with dark eyes that seemed to see everything at once. She was not large or frightening. She looked tired and confused. But there was something in the way she moved, the way she assessed each person in the room, that made hardened soldiers step back. She spoke, but the words meant nothing to them. An unknown language. Her suit came to life, and a mechanical voice began translating. "This is Captain Sarah Chen, United Nations Space Corps, service number 2847 Alpha Victor, requesting status report." Her eyes focused on Commander Thros. She did not seem afraid even though she was one person surrounded by armed soldiers. "Who are you?" she asked. The translation came through clear. "Where are the others? Where is Lieutenant Morrison? He was supposed to wake me if there was a problem." Thros lowered his weapon slightly. "I am Commander Thros of the Krevnak Fleet. You are on mining colony Xerxes 9. We found this facility after the miners disappeared." Sarah Chen climbed out of the pod, moving stiffly. She looked at the empty pods around her. Something in her expression changed. Pain flashed across her face, but only for a moment. Then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. "How long?" she asked quietly. "How long have I been asleep?" Dr. Yenna stepped forward. "According to the pod systems, 300 years. For a long moment, Captain Chen said nothing. She just stood there processing information. When she spoke again, her voice was completely calm. Too calm, 300 years. The sleep was supposed to last 50 years, maybe 100 at most. That means something went very wrong." She walked to a computer terminal and placed her hand on it. The ancient system recognized her and came to life. Data flowed across screens. Captain Chen read it all, her expression never changing. "They left," she said. "Everyone from this facility woke up 20 years ago. They went looking for Earth, looking for home." She turned back to Commander Thros. "I need to contact Human Command immediately." Thros did not know what to say. This was all too strange, too impossible. "There is no Earth," he said finally. "There is no human command. Whatever you are, humans are myths. They do not exist in our galaxy. They never did." Captain Chen looked at him for a long time. Her eyes were cold and dark. When she spoke, her words made everyone in the room feel afraid. "Then you have made a terrible mistake waking me." Captain Sarah Chen sat in the detention cell aboard the Talon of Dominion. She did not pace or shout or demand release like most prisoners. She simply sat on the metal bench, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes focused on nothing. Commander Thros watched her through the transparent barrier. "She has not moved in 3 hours," Captain Vorsal reported. "She has not eaten. She barely blinks. It is unnatural." "She is thinking," Thros said. "Planning. I have seen this before in prisoners of war." She is dangerous. Thros had decided to take Captain Chen back to Zenith 7. The Council needed to see this. A real human, alive and breathing. Proof that Kael'thar had been right all along. But Thros refused to believe all the myths. One small woman could not be that dangerous no matter what the old stories said. They had sent a message to Ambassador Kael'thar, asking him to meet them on the ship. The Vrek scholar arrived quickly, his compound eyes wide with excitement and fear. He stood before the detention cell staring at the human. "It is real," he whispered. "She is real. After all these years, I was right." Captain Chen finally moved. She stood and walked to the barrier, looking directly at Kael'thar. When she spoke, her translation device turned her words into something everyone could understand. "You have been studying human ruins," she said. It was not a question. "I can tell by the way you look at me. Like I am a historical artifact come to life." Kael'thar clicked his mandibles nervously. "Yes, Captain Chen, for 10 years. I found your colonies, your outposts, your warning beacons. I tried to tell them you were real, but nobody believed me." "What happened to the worlds we left behind?" she asked. "Who lives there now?" Kael'thar hesitated. Different species claimed them. After 300 years of silence, everyone assumed humanity was extinct. The worlds were empty, so we took them, built new cities on top of the old ones. Something changed in Captain Chen's expression. "You built on top of our graves. You erased us from history and took everything we left behind." "We did not know," Kael'thar said quickly. "We thought you were myths. Just old stories." Captain Chen looked past Kael'thar to Commander Thros. "I asked you to let me contact Human Command. You refused. I asked for access to communications. You locked me in this cell. You are making a mistake." Thros crossed his arms. "You will speak to the Council. They will decide what to do with you. Until then, you are a prisoner." "Then you should know something," Captain Chen said calmly. "The facility on Xerxes 9 was not just a shelter. It was a beacon. When my pod woke up, it sent an automatic signal. A very old signal that only human ships can detect." "What kind of signal?" Kael'thar asked. Captain Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "A distress call. The others who left 20 years ago have been looking for survivors. They have been searching every system, checking every old human outpost, and now they know exactly where I am." Commander Thros was about to respond when alarms screamed through the ship. The bridge erupted in chaos. Officers shouted reports. Lights flashed red. "Commander!" Captain Vorsal yelled. "Sensors are going crazy. Multiple contacts just appeared on the edge of the system." Thros ran to the bridge. On the main display, dozens of contacts were moving toward them. The ships were coming from the drifting nebula, a region marked as dangerous and avoided by all intelligent species. "What are those?" Thros demanded. "Identify them." "Unknown design, sir. The computers have never seen ships like this. They are not showing life signs, but they are under power and moving with purpose." "Wait, they are sending a message." A voice came through the speakers. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, clear and cold. "This is the United Nations vessel Perseverance to Unidentified Fleet. You are holding one of our officers. Return Captain Sarah Chen immediately or you will be classified as hostile." Thros felt his scales go cold. Humans. Real human ships. An entire fleet of them. Back in the detention area, Captain Chen stood calmly behind the barrier. "I told you," she said quietly. "They have been looking for me." Commander Thros made a decision. He would not be threatened. "All ships, battle formation. Charge weapons. These humans think they can give me orders? Show them what happens when they threaten the Krevnak fleet." "Sir," Captain Vorsal said nervously, "perhaps we should talk to them first. We do not know what their weapons can do." "I know exactly what they can do. Nothing. We outnumber them. We have been fighting wars for 40 years. These ships have been hiding in a nebula for who knows how long. They are probably falling apart. Fire warning shots across their path." The Krevnak fleet opened fire. Bright energy beams lanced through space toward the human ships. Kael'thar, still watching from the detention area, saw Captain Chen's face. She closed her eyes like someone watching a terrible accident they cannot stop. The energy beams hit the human ships. Nothing happened. The weapons splashed against the hull like water against stone. The alien warships might as well have been throwing rocks. "Impossible," Thros shouted. "Our weapons can destroy mountains." How did they just absorb that much energy? The human voice came back unchanged and calm. "You have fired upon United Nations vessels. This is your final warning. Return our officer, or we will disable your fleet and take her back. Thross's pride would not let him back down. All ships, full assault! Target their engines. Show these ghosts what real military power looks like. The entire Krevnak fleet fired at once. Hundreds of warships unleashed everything they had. Space lit up with weapons fire. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. The human ships did not even try to dodge. They just flew straight through the attack, their armor taking hit after hit without damage. Then they returned fire. It was not like anything the aliens had seen before. No bright energy beams, no missiles. Just small, fast projectiles that moved so quickly they were nearly invisible. Each shot was perfect. Each hit exactly where it needed to. One shot per ship. That was all it took. The Krevnak warships did not explode. They just stopped. Engines went dead. Weapons powered down. Life support remained active. The ships drifted in space, completely disabled but with all crew members alive. The entire fleet was defeated in one single attack that lasted less than 30 seconds. The Talon of Dominion was the only ship still functioning. Commander Thross stood frozen, unable to believe what he was seeing. Hundreds of his ships floating helpless. His entire career, his entire reputation, destroyed in half a minute. The human voice came through again, still calm, still emotionless. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the UNS Perseverance. You have 60 seconds to release Captain Chen. After that, we board your ship and take her. Choose wisely. In the detention area, Captain Chen looked at Kael'thar through the barrier. You should tell the commander to let me go. Admiral Webb does not make empty threats, and you really do not want him boarding this ship. Kael'thar ran to the bridge. Commander, please let her go. They can destroy us whenever they want. They are being merciful. Thross looked at his disabled fleet, at the human ships that had barely tried, at the countdown timer showing 40 seconds remaining. His pride was strong, but he was not stupid. With shaking hands, he gave the order, release the prisoner. The council chamber on Zenith 7 had never been so crowded. Every species in the galaxy seemed to have sent representatives. Word had spread fast about what happened to Commander Thross's fleet. Everyone wanted to see the humans with their own eyes. Captain Sarah Chen walked through the chamber doors and the noise stopped. Every eye turned to watch her. She wore a clean uniform now, dark blue with symbols on the shoulders. Admiral Marcus Webb walked beside her, a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind them, visible through the glass ceiling, dozens of human warships floated in perfect formation. Blue and white hulls gleamed in the starlight, just like the old myths described. But these were not stories anymore. They were real, and everyone was afraid. Ambassador Kael'thar sat in his seat, his mandibles clicking softly. He had been right, but he found no joy in it. High Curator Mirasol's feathers had turned a deep purple, the color her species showed when feeling great sadness. Commander Thross was not present. He had been removed from command after losing his entire fleet without destroying a single human ship. The council leader, the being made of floating crystals, spoke first. Humans of Earth, we welcome you to this council. We apologize for the misunderstanding with Commander Thross. We did not know your species still existed. Admiral Webb did not smile. He simply nodded. Thank you for releasing Captain Chen. That showed wisdom. Now we need to discuss what happens next. He activated a hologram, just like Kael'thar had done days before. But this hologram showed something different. It showed star systems, hundreds of them. Each one was marked with human symbols. 300 years ago, Earth was dying, Webb began. Our sun was changing. Our world would not support life much longer. We had a choice: stay and die with our planet, or spread across the galaxy and hope to survive. We chose to survive. We built colony ships. We established outposts. We created emergency shelters for those who needed more time. The plan was to sleep for 50 to 100 years, then wake up when new homes were ready. But something went wrong. Captain Chen stepped forward. A solar storm bigger than anyone predicted. It hit our communication networks. It damaged the wake-up systems. Most facilities stayed asleep for 300 years instead of 50. My facility was one of them. Webb pointed to areas on the map that glowed red. These are the sites that woke up 20 years ago. The people there found empty worlds. They found ruins of human cities overgrown with alien buildings. They found memorials turned into trash heaps. They found their history erased. A Delphine Council member raised a fin. But the worlds were empty. We thought humanity was extinct. We had no way to know. We left beacons, Webb said, his voice cold. We left warnings. We left signs saying we would return. You ignored them. Or maybe you just deleted them so you could claim the world's guilt-free. Kael'thar stood up. Admiral Webb, not all of us deleted the warnings. Some of us kept the memories. I spent 10 years trying to prove humans were real. I tried to make them listen. Webb looked at the Vrek scholar. His expression softened slightly. I know. We have been watching for 20 years. We know who tried to preserve our legacy and who tried to erase it. We know who built their homeworlds on top of human graves. We know everything. The council chamber grew very quiet. Every species represented had taken something. The Vreks had built cities on an old human world. The Seraphim used human technology without knowing its origin. The Krevnak had claimed 3 systems. Even the peaceful Delphine lived on a world that once had human names. What do you want? The council leader asked. What are your demands? Admiral Webb pulled up a document. First, we want acknowledgement, official recognition that humanity existed, that we built these worlds, that we have a right to them. Second, we want our original territories returned. Not all at once, but over time. You will have years to relocate. Third, we want reparations. Resources, technology, whatever we need to rebuild. Fourth, we want a formal apology from every species that took what was ours. Several council members started talking at once. Some seemed willing to negotiate. Others looked angry. A Krevnak representative stood up, scales rippling with rage. This is unacceptable. We have possession, 300 years of possession. You abandoned these worlds. They are ours now. Captain Chen looked at the Krevnak representative. We did not abandon anything. We were sleeping. We trusted that the galaxy would respect our legacy. You did not just take our worlds. You tried to make us disappear from history. You turned us into myths to justify theft. And what if we refuse your demands? The Krevnak asked. Admiral Webb's expression did not change. Then we will take them back. We gave Commander Thross a choice. He chose violence. He learned what happens when you fight humanity. We do not want war. We never did. But we will not be erased. Not again. High Curator Mirasol stood, her feathers shifting to bright silver. The old warnings were clear. They said humans offer mercy, but only once. They said if you refuse that mercy, you will learn why humans became legends. Admiral Webb, you disabled an entire fleet without killing anyone. That was mercy. What happens if someone refuses again? Webb met her eyes. Then we stopped being merciful. The Krevnak representative would not back down. You think 50 ships can stand against the entire Krevnak armada? We have 5,000 warships. We will crush you. Do it then, Captain Chen said quietly. Order your armada to attack. Let us see what happens. The Krevnak representative looked around the chamber. Other species were watching, waiting. His pride would not let him back down in front of everyone. He pulled out a communication device. All Krevnak forces, this is Ambassador Thross's replacement. Attack the human vessels. Show them the price of threatening us. Through the glass ceiling, thousands of ships appeared. The Krevnak had brought their entire military. Ship after ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel until they filled the space around Zenith 7, 5,000 warships against 50 human vessels. The council members ran to the windows, terrified of being caught in a battle. Kael'thar looked at Admiral Webb. The human showed no fear, no concern. He just looked tired. I gave you a choice, Webb said. You made it. He touched his communication device. All human ships you are cleared to engage. Disable but do not destroy. Minimize casualties. Show them what 300 years of anger looks like when we finally stop being patient. The Krevnak armada opened fire. Energy weapons lit up the space around the station. Missiles streaked toward human ships. It was the biggest military assault in modern history. The human ships spread out into formations that made no sense to alien eyes. They moved fast, faster than ships that size should move. They dodged and weaved through weapons fire like dancers, and then they showed everyone what humanity had been building for 20 years. Weapons activated that the galaxy had never seen. Electromagnetic pulses that shut down entire sections of the Krevnak fleet at once. Cyber attacks that turned alien ships against each other. Kinetic weapons that punched through shields like they were not there. And strangest of all, communications broadcasts that somehow made enemy crews stop fighting. Captain Chen watched the battle from the council chamber. Psychological warfare, she explained to Kelthar. We broadcast messages directly to the Krevnak crews. We tell them the truth, that their leaders ordered them to fight over stolen property, that we offered peace first, that their commander's pride is the only reason people are dying. It makes soldiers think. And when soldiers think instead of just obeying, battles end quickly. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the entire Krevnak armada floated helpless. Not one human ship had been destroyed. Not one had even been seriously damaged. And despite fighting 5,000 enemy vessels, the humans had killed fewer than 100 aliens. Most Krevnak ships had been disabled so carefully that their crews never lost life support. The council watched in silence. They had seen their strongest military power defeated. Destroyed not through random violence but through precise, calculated force. The humans had shown restraint even in victory, and that made them more terrifying than any myth ever could. The Krevnak ambassador had expected death when his armada failed. Instead, human ships sent medical teams to help the injured. They provided life support to damaged vessels. They even shared food and water with crews who had run out during the battle. The humans treated their defeated enemies better than most species treated their friends. Admiral Webb stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Perseverance, looking at the disabled fleet floating in space. Captain Chen stood beside him. They thought we would kill them all, Sarah said quietly. Of course they did, Webb replied. That is what the galaxy does. That is why we became myths. Because we offered mercy when everyone else offered death. He turned to face the council station. Send a message to the council. We are ready to talk now. I think they will listen this time. Back on Zenith 7, the council held an emergency session. Every species was present, even those who usually never attended. The Krevnak representative who had ordered the attack sat with his head bowed. His pride had cost his people everything. The council leader's crystal body glowed softly as it spoke. The humans have demonstrated their military power. They have also demonstrated their restraint. Admiral Webb, the council accepts your terms. We will return human territories over the next 50 years. We will provide reparations, and we will formally acknowledge humanity's place in galactic history. Webb nodded. Thank you. We understand this will not be easy for many species. Millions of your people live on worlds we once called home. We are not monsters. We will not force anyone into space overnight. We will work together to make the transition smooth. High Curator Mirasol stood. Admiral, I have kept the archives for many years. I will personally begin the work of correcting the historical record. Humanity will no longer be just myths and warnings. You will be remembered as you truly were and are. Thank you, High Curator. We would appreciate that. Ambassador Kelthar clicked his mandibles nervously. Admiral Webb, Captain Chen, I must confess something. My species, the Vreks, built our homeworld on top of a human colony. The city of New Seattle, I believe it was called. We did not know. We truly did not know. Captain Chen looked at the Vrek scholar. For a moment, something painful crossed her face. New Seattle was my grandmother's city. She helped found it before I was born. I grew up hearing stories about the parks she designed, the buildings she helped plan. Kelthar felt terrible. I am so sorry. If I had known, I would have fought harder to preserve it. You tried, Sarah said. You spent 10 years trying to prove we were real. You spoke truth when everyone called you crazy. That matters. When we reclaim New Seattle, I want you there. I want you to help us merge what you built with what we remember. Your people and mine can share that world. Kelthar's compound eyes glistened with tears. You would allow that? After everything? Humanity did not survive 300 years just to live alone, Admiral Webb said. We have always believed in working with other species, in finding common ground. That has not changed. We are angry, yes. We feel betrayed, absolutely. But we also understand that most of you truly did not know. Ignorance can be corrected. Intentions can change. The Krevnak representative finally stood. Admiral Webb, I ordered the attack that killed over 90 Krevnak warriors. I know what I deserve. I am ready to face justice for my actions. Webb looked at him for a long time. What is your name? Commander Vexithral, sir. Commander Vexithral, you made a mistake. A big one. Pride and anger made you send warriors to die for a cause they did not understand. Those deaths are on your conscience forever. But justice does not require your death. It requires you to learn, to change, to teach others not to make your mistakes. Vexthral looked confused. You will not execute me? You will not imprison me? What good would that do? You will serve humanity better by living, by remembering, by making sure this never happens again. That is the human way. We believe people can change. We believe in second chances, though we rarely give third ones. The council chamber was completely silent. Every species present was learning something new about humans. They were not the violent monsters from old myths. They were not weak either. They were something the galaxy had not seen before. Powerful but merciful, angry but forgiving, strong but willing to cooperate. The council leader spoke again. A new era begins today. Humanity has returned from silence. We will work together to build a galaxy where all species can thrive. Over the following weeks, human ships began visiting their old territories. They found cities built on human foundations. They found graves turned into parks. They found their warning beacons destroyed or ignored. But they also found something else. They found evidence that some aliens had tried to preserve human memory. On the Vrex homeworld, Kelthar showed Captain Chen a small museum he had built in secret. It contained human artifacts he had rescued from ruins, old photos he had found, pieces of technology he had protected. He had kept humanity alive in the only way he could. Sarah walked through the museum, touching objects from a world she had never known but always felt connected to. Tears ran down her face as she saw a photo of New Seattle in its prime, beautiful and full of life. Thank you, she said to Kael'thar. You kept us alive when everyone else forgot. You gave humanity a voice when we had none. We will never forget that. Kael'thar became the official liaison between humans and the Galactic Council. He helped negotiate the return of territories. He helped aliens understand human culture. He helped humans understand how much the galaxy had changed in 300 years. He became a bridge between myth and reality. High Curator Mirasol worked day and night updating the archives. She removed the myths and replaced them with truth. She interviewed every human she could find, recording their stories, their memories, their history. She made sure that future generations would know humanity as they truly were. Her final entry in the historical record became famous across the galaxy. She wrote, "They were never myths. They were simply sleeping, and we mistook their absence for extinction. The lesson is clear. Never assume silence means death. Especially with humans. They always come back." But she added one more line, something that would be quoted for generations. The old myths had it wrong. Humans are not dangerous because they are violent. They are dangerous because they are restrained. They have the power to destroy, but they choose to build. They have the right to hate, but they choose to forgive. That is what makes them truly terrifying and truly magnificent. 6 months after the Battle of Zenith 7, Admiral Webb stood on the bridge of the Perseverance preparing for another journey. Human ships were spreading across the galaxy, reclaiming old worlds, building new ones, making treaties and friendships. Captain Chen brought him a message that had just arrived. "Admiral, you need to see this. It is from deep space. A new signal." Webb read the message. His hands started shaking. After a moment, he had to sit down. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "What does it say?" Webb looked up at her, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw tears in his eyes. "It is from Earth," he whispered. "After all this time, after 300 years, Earth is still there. The sun did not destroy it. The planet survived, and people are still alive on our homeworld." Sarah felt her heart skip. "What does the message say?" Webb read it out loud, his voice thick with emotion. "This is Earth Command to all human colonies. If anyone receives this message, know that we are still here. The crisis passed, Earth healed, and we have been searching for you for 300 years. We never gave up. We never stopped hoping. Come home. Your world is waiting." The message spread through the human fleet within minutes. On every ship, people cried and laughed and hugged each other. They had spent so long thinking Earth was gone. thinking they were orphans floating in the galaxy with no home to return to. But Earth survived. Home was still there. Admiral Webb gave the order that every human had been dreaming about for 20 years. Set course for Earth. We are going home. The human fleet turned as one, their blue and white ships pointing toward a distant star system that held humanity's birthplace. Behind them, they left a changed galaxy. Aliens who now understood that humans were real, treaties that would reshape the future, and the beginning of something new. True cooperation between humanity and the species they had once been myths to. Captain Chen stood at the window of the Perseverance, watching the stars stream past as they jumped to faster than light speed. She thought about her grandmother who had built New Seattle. She thought about all the humans who had slept through centuries. She thought about the long journey home. They had been myths for 300 years, stories told to frighten children, warnings whispered in the dark. But myths were just truths waiting to be remembered, and now everyone knew the truth. Humans were never gone. They were just sleeping. And when the ships started firing, when the galaxy finally saw what humanity could do, they learned the most important lesson of all. Never mistake silence for extinction. Never confuse patience for weakness. And never ever assume that myths are just stories.